Hey, good morning, everyone. As you can see, I am in yet another location. I am on my back porch, and I thought I would give this a try. There will be some ambient noises, as you can hear, but I was hoping that just the change of scenery would be enough to kind of overcome any distractions from noises passing by. Hopefully this will work out. If it doesn't, you guys will let me know and we will take it back inside next week. But I thought I'd give it a try. So today we are going to be lying down. However, when we do that, we like to do our foot massage first so that we don't have to get back up again. So if you have a tennis ball, you're gonna stand up. And if you do not have a tennis ball, you can stay seated. Or you can also be in a chair, of course. If you're doing a seated foot massage, you can be in a chair rather than on the floor. And then once we're finished with our foot massage, we'll do our centering and get started with everything else. So let me just change my camera angle a little bit here. There we go. All right. So if you are standing up, and you guys are pretty familiar with the tennis ball foot massage, but if you're standing up, you are just going to be rolling that ball under your foot and just kind of applying some pressure and giving yourself an overall foot massage. If you are seated, you are pulling those toes and giving your toes a wake-up call. And so you're just stretching one way and then the other. And then you're giving a tug to each toe. Good. And then you people who are doing the tennis ball foot massage, you're going to put the tennis ball right under the ball of your foot. And you're just going to be rocking it side to side as we do. If you are doing this seated foot massage, you're going to use your thumbs on that same general area under the ball of the foot and just give yourself a nice little massage there, kind of pressing and moving those thumbs around, maybe kind of manipulating that foot a little bit. So whichever version you're doing, you're focusing now on the ball of the foot. And just working your way in there. And so now, if you are using the tennis ball, you are putting your toes down and the ball of your foot down. And remember, the tennis ball is going to go right under the foot, just forward of the heel. And if you're seated, again, we're going to work on that same spot, kind of using a little muscle to just kind of press in there. Remember, that's your plantar fascia, that really thick band of connective tissue that gives some structure and bounce to your foot. When it gets angry, we get plantar fasciitis, which usually feel first as pain in the heel, and that's because that fascia is tight and it's pulling and pulling and pulling on the heel bone. So that's where that aggravation comes from. Sometimes it gets bad enough that you develop a little bone spur there because your body's trying to protect itself by adding some extra bone there. So we're trying to avoid that. No guarantees, but we're trying to avoid that by just keeping that fascia nice and nimble and loose and just kind of giving it some movement. All right. Good. And so now we're switching feet, and so the tennis ball folks are again just giving that overall foot massage, standing up and just pressing and rolling that ball under your foot. And the seated people are stretching those toes one way and then the other. you guys all came through the storms yesterday without any damage to your homes or anything. Pretty impressive rain we had, right? But the good news is it's going to be a little cooler today. So that's a nice change, at least as far as I'm concerned. All right, good. So now tennis ball folks, you have the ball under the ball of your foot and you are rolling. It's like rolling that ball side to side, but of course you're standing up. And those of us who are seated are using our thumbs to kind of replicate what's happening with the tennis ball. So we're pressing and we're kind of moving it around, and maybe we're twisting that forefoot. This is sort of our way of replicating what it would be like for your foot if you're walking on uneven terrain, which your foot is designed to do and which we rarely do, most of us. And if we do, we're usually wearing shoes. And so last but not least, the ball is going to be under your foot, just in front of the heel, and you're just stepping on that ball and holding, letting your body weight do the work. And those of us who are seated are going to use our muscles to kind of replicate that, pressing, just really getting in there. The thumbs are your main tool here. And just kind of pressing in and around that general area. And of course, if it's tender, you'll back off a little bit on the pressure, but you can probably apply a fair amount. Okay, good. We are done with our footwork for now. So you can go ahead and set your tennis ball aside. And if you would please go ahead and lie down on your mat. And I'm not even using a mat because I'm on a little rug here. So go ahead and just stretch out. You can of course, have your knees bent if you like. Or you can lie flat if that works better. Let your arms relax at your sides, or you could let your hands rest lightly on your belly or your rib cage. Just whatever feels most comfortable for you right now at the very start of your practice. So hopefully you won't need to watch your screen very much. We've done these before, so I will not necessarily be following along with you. And so as you do come into stillness, take a moment to just notice that you have landed. Whatever you were doing right before this, whatever awaits you in the rest of your day, just let all of that slip off of your shoulders. And just remind yourself that you are here and it is now, and there is nothing that requires your attention for the next hour more than your own well-being. So notice all the places where your back body is in contact with your mat or the ground. Notice all those points of contact. And see if you can, as you bring your attention to your breath, just let each exhalation leave you a little bit more relaxed into that support. Just allow yourself to be fully supported by all of those points of contact. And just let your breath carry you along. You settle in more to the room you're in, to your mat, and to your body. So as you begin to feel yourself a bit more present to your physical self this morning, just take a moment to notice and acknowledge whatever is present in your physical experience today, noticing sensation of any kind. Checking in with your mood and your energy level this morning, just kind of noticing how you're starting and where you might like for your practice to lead you today. So I thought we might start with a little massage for the jaw, as we've done before. So just stay relaxed where you are and just bring your fingertips, your first and second fingers, up to the hinges of your jaw. And you can find that area near your earlobes by just opening and closing your mouth once or twice. And you'll pretty quickly find those jaw muscles. And so just using your fingertips to get it in there and give a little massage to those muscles. See if there's any tenderness there, any tension you might have carried out of your sleep, or any tension you might be carrying chronically. And then just let your fingers rest there lightly, and a couple of times open and close your mouth really wide. And then slide your lower jaw side to side a few times. And then finally, slide that lower jaw forward and back a few times. Good. All right. So now letting your arms drift down to your sides again. And then with your next inhalation, float your arms up overhead toward the floor behind you. And on your exhale, float them back down. Each inhale lifts. Each exhale lowers. Couple more times. Floating your arms up on the inhale and down on the exhale. Good. And so now as your arms come up overhead the next time, if you haven't already, go ahead and stretch your legs out straight. Let's clasp your hands overhead, turn your palms behind you, stretch long through your hands and your heels. And then when you're ready, bring your knees to your chest, wrap your arms around your legs, and rock a little side to side. Good. And so now keep that right knee hugged in and stretch your left leg out long and straight. And then switch. And then a few more times, kind of briskly warming up those hips and knees. Good. And so the next time that right knee is hugged in, go ahead and bend the left knee as well. And let's point the toes of the right foot and flex. And point. And flex. And point. And flex. And let's make some circles with that ankle. And circle the other way. Good, and then let's stretch that right foot up toward the ceiling. And remember, your toes are actively pulling down toward your face. Pause there. And then we'll slowly lower that right leg and bring that knee back in. As you stretch that leg up straight, the foot is flexed and it stays flexed as you lower that straight leg down. Good. So a few more times. And then eventually, let's cross your right ankle over that bent left knee. And we're just gonna pause here. Maybe you're gonna stay right here. Maybe you want to draw that left knee into your chest and hold on to that leg. Maybe you can even hug that left knee in a little closer, which of course will bring the right knee or the right foot in closer and give you a deeper stretch in the hip. And then bring that left foot down. So from here, we're gonna cross that right thigh over the left thigh and bring those knees in. And again, you can hold on however works best and draw the knees as close to you as your body will welcome. And again, we're just targeting just a slightly different spot. This is more of a gluteal stretch than a stretch for those hip muscles on the outer hip. And then release, and we'll uncross. And so now we're going to start on the other side by just bringing that left knee into your chest. And we're going to point and flex and point and flex and point and flex. And we'll make some circles. Circle the other way. And we will stretch that left foot up. So remember, it's fine if you want to have a little bend in that knee. But do try to pull those toes down, not with your hand, but with your muscles. Just flex that foot. And we're looking for a stretch back here and a stretch back here. And we're going to slowly lower that straight left leg. And draw it in again, stretch up, float down. And a couple more times. And then we will cross that left ankle over that bent right knee. And again, you might stay right here, or you might draw that knee in a little bit, or you might hug it in even closer. And bring that right foot down and then cross that thigh, that left thigh over the right thigh, and bring the knees up and just kind of hold on however works best. See if you can bring those knees a little closer to your chest. And right foot comes down and we uncross. Let's bring both knees to the chest. And hands on knees, guiding those knees in a couple of circles. And then changing direction. Ahead and bring the soles of your feet together and hold on to your shins or your ankles or your feet, whatever is most accessible. A couple of breaths here. And then bringing the knees back together, bring your feet down to your mat, and we're going to take those feet wider. Remember, out to the edges of the mat. And we're going to start our windshield wipers. Just letting your knees drift side to side. So as your knees drift to the right the next time, take that left arm up next to your left ear and just stretch long. And then bring that left arm down, take your knees to the left and stretch your right arm up next to your ear. On the floor, stretching away through those fingertips, just feeling that stretch along the whole right side here. Your knees have dropped to the left. Coming back to center and bringing your feet back into their normal width apart. So if you have anything under your head, now's the time to take that away. Got a little itch there. Okay, good. And so we're just going to work on our bridge pose. So your arms are at your sides. And your next inhale will lift those hips. And exhale, lower. Inhale, lift. Exhale, lower. Good. Follow your breath now. Remember, it's not so important how high you lift, but just think about really activating your muscles by pressing down strongly through your feet. Just the pressing down through the feet is going to engage the muscles we're looking to engage here. And we're trying to keep our knees fairly, maybe just 6 or 8 inches apart. It kind of depends on how your knees feel. If you need to adjust your foot position a little, that's fine. But we're going to try to not have the knees go splayed out. So we're going to try and keep the thighs parallel, more or less. And so now if you'd like to build in a few longer holds of your bridge pose, you can do that. Just staying in the lifted position for a few extra breaths. And then you can always take a break, return to the flowing bridge if you like, or do some longer holds. Remember, pressing down more strongly with your feet is going to bring more muscle energy into the task. So see how energetic you feel. You're ready, go ahead and float those hips down, bring your knees into your chest, and maybe rock a little side to side. Bring those feet down, and I am just now realizing that I did not mention having a strap. So if you need to pause this video and go get some kind of strap, go ahead and do that. I apologize for not mentioning it at the start. I will mention it in the email, so hopefully you will have read that and you will have brought a strap. So if you need to, go ahead and pause, and of course if you don't have a strap, you can make do without it. We're going to bring the right knee in, and we're going to put the strap around the ball of the foot. So see right there on the ball of the foot, not down here, up here. And we're going to stretch that right foot up. And so again, the foot is flexed just like it was earlier, but now the strap is giving it a little bit of extra flex. So maybe you feel a little extra stretch here. And so just take a few breaths to let yourself settle into that stretch. Let your body get used to that feeling. And let's do a little bit of that foot windshield wiper action. We've done this a couple of times. So we're just turning your foot in and out. Hopefully you can see what my foot's doing, in and out. And it's kind of hard to do that without the whole leg moving, so that's okay. Turning that thigh bone in the hip joint as we turn the foot. And then go ahead and take that strap, both ends, in your right hand. And remember that arm is straight because the strap is just bridging the gap between hand and foot. And we're gonna float that leg out. And bring it back in, maybe cross it a little over the midline, but probably not so much that the hip lifts. We're just trying to move the leg and keep the pelvis steady. So as the leg comes out to the right, wherever it stops, if it feels interesting to kind of hang out there for a few breaths and just enjoy that stretch, you could do that. So you could hold that stretch if you like, or you can just keep that nice dynamic movement going. To center and bend the right knee, and we'll just switch that strap over to the ball of the left foot. Stretch it on up, reach those hands up, and then let the arms kind of relax. Let the weight of the arms bring that foot into a little deeper flexion. Just hang out and breathe. gonna do our little windshield wipers. So just turning that foot out as much as you can and then in as much as you can, but keeping it flexed the whole time. Bringing that foot back to center. Both ends of the strap are in your left hand now. The foot still stays flexed as the leg floats out. And back in. And maybe across the midline a little to the right. And continue that. Remember, you're welcome to hover out there if that stretch feels good. And of course, if it feels good to cross over and hover there, hang out a little bit, you could do that. Center, and we'll bend that knee. We'll set the strap aside. So we're going to spend just a couple of minutes on something new, just to kind of give us a little something different and interesting. And I'm going to shimmy away from the camera a little so you can see more of me. I'm trying to figure out what angle is going to work best for this. So what we're going to do is we're going to bend our knees and we're going to put both legs up toward the ceiling. And both arms up toward the ceiling. So the person I learned this from calls this dead bug, calls this a dead bug exercise. So I know that's charming, but we're going to go ahead and just stick with that title because it's kind of funny. And so what we're going to do is we're going to be doing opposite arm, opposite leg. So the right leg and the left arm are going to move toward the floor. And then back up. And now, of course, the left leg and the right arm are going to move toward the floor. The other limbs are up. Good, and back. So right leg, left arm, and back, and left leg, right arm, and back. And you may notice it's a little bit challenging for your brain to figure out which limbs are moving. I always have to pause a little bit. And so it'll get a little easier after you do a few rounds. It's nice work for your abdominal muscles, as you may notice. But it's also a nice little sort of brain teaser, a little brain game. And if it's a little more challenging than you like physically, you can, instead of keeping that leg straight, you could bend the leg that's lifting and lowering. That'll kind of ease things up a little bit. Good. You could also, if this bothers your back, You could take the arms out of it and tuck your hands under your hips and just do the leg part, lifting and lowering. So again, that's not going to have the same, coordinating both hemispheres of your brain kind of effort that we were looking for. But if this feels better for your body and you'd like to play with this rather than doing the arm part too, you could do that, because this is a really nice abdominal strengthener. So that's just sort of my intro to dead bug, and I'll be bringing that back in here and again every so often, here and now. All right, good. And so the last thing we're going to do, which is generally always the last thing we do when we're lying down, is we're going to roll to one side. So let's roll to our right side, and remember, you're going to make a little pillow with your bottom arm. We're just going to make those big sweeping circles with the top arm. And you're going to move slowly. And just let your shoulder tell you what range of motion feels good. You might find, of course, that as you get things nice and warm in that shoulder joint, that you get a little more range of motion. And it's not so important what your range of motion is, as it is important that we maintain the range of motion you've got. And maybe we can expand on it a little bit if you've got some shoulder issues, but we're not going to force anything. And then we'll switch directions. To the other side, and we'll put that bottom arm under, and we'll let the top arm sweep. So again, the first couple of rotations might feel a little stiff, and maybe you'll notice as you continue that things loosen up a little bit. As far as the joints are concerned, one of my favorite little catchphrases that I've heard used is that motion is like lotion. So in terms of lubricating and nourishing the joint, movement is generally helpful. Not when you've got an acute injury, perhaps, but for general day-to-day maintenance, moving a joint is a good thing. Good, and then let's switch directions. by rolling onto our backs again and beginning to settle in for Shavasana. So as always, if you have something nearby you want to put your legs up on, I happen to have a little wicker coffee table right here. And so I'm going to actually drag it in a little bit and put my legs up on it just like I might on a chair. You could do that if you have a couch or a bed or a wall or anything nearby that you want to lift your legs up onto, you could do that. If you want to lie on a bed or a couch, you could do that. Whichever position you choose for Shavasana, go ahead and just let yourself melt. Let your eyes drift closed. Just letting yourself soften back into gentle awareness of the breath. Letting yourself be carried along with each gentle wave of breath. Knowing that you are fully supported by the ground beneath you and by those around you. And that for now there is absolutely nowhere to go and nothing to do. slowly and gently, allow your awareness to return to your breath, your body, and the space around you. Invite small movements into your fingers and toes. And when you're ready, bend your knees. Roll to your right side. Just rest there for a few more breaths. Gradually make your way back up to a seated position. Leaving your eyes closed and your focus turned inward. Checking back in to notice how you're feeling at the end of your practice. While you do that, I will read this poem from Mary Oliver. And it's called Softest of Mornings. Softest of mornings, hello, and what will you do today, I wonder, to my heart? And how much honey can the heart stand, I wonder, before it must break? This is trivial, or nothing. A snail climbing a trellis of leaves, and the blue trumpets of its flowers. No doubt clocks are ticking loudly all over the world. I don't hear them. The snail's pale horns extend and wave this way and that, as her finger body shuffles forward, leaving behind the silvery path of her slime. Oh, softest of mornings, how shall I break this? How shall I move away from the snail and the flowers? How shall I go on with my introspective and ambitious life? And so we'll close our practice by joining our hands together in front of our hearts in a gesture of offering and of peace. And I do thank you all so very much for sharing your practice with me and especially with one another. Namaste. Thank you, everyone. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day, whatever that means for you, whatever time you are viewing this. I look forward to being with you again next week. Bye-bye.